A small group of people in an early childhood setting watch and help two children play with a balancing sculpture. Title: Facilitating Tinkering, STEAM Starters. On screen, Luigi Anzavino, Tinkering Studio Professional Development Lead, Exploratorium.
As you begin sharing tinkering experiences with children, you might discover that supporting them in these learning situations requires a slightly different approach than you might be used to.
In various scenes, teachers observe and facilitate children playing with balls, ramps, balancing sculptures, and lights and shadows.
We refer to the ways in which educators support children and help them make sense of tinkering experiences as facilitation. Tinkering facilitation is not direct teaching of specific concepts and doesn't try to lead every learner towards the same outcome. Rather, it is a thoughtful dialogue between the educator and the child. We find ourselves doing a lot of careful, attentive observation of learners to discover what the child is working on, what goals they're setting for themselves, and what problems are emerging, before gently guiding their investigations towards discovery, deeper thinking, and development of understanding. Of course, as educators, we might have our own learning goals that we're striving toward, but it is important that we allow learners to drive their own explorations through play and experimentation toward those goals. We listen to the child and watch what they're doing in order to understand the theories the child is forming, and we provide tools to test those theories when appropriate. This might look like asking a well-placed question, offering a new material, making an observation, or asking what their next step might be, and sometimes simply sitting beside a child as they build and experiment. This kind of responsive facilitation helps us understand more about each child and supports them to feel empowered as thinkers and problem solvers. Facilitation includes everything an educator might do or say as a way to support children in their exploration and to make sense of the experiences they're having. We think of these interventions as falling roughly into three categories, but bear in mind that in actual practice, we usually flow in and out of these fluidly, rather than in a rigid or prescribed way.
On-screen graphic: Spark learners' interest, followed by a teacher in a classroom watching two children playing with ramps.
Initially, we try to spark the learner's interest in the phenomena and exploration. We try to invite children to play with the things we say, the materials we offer, and the questions we ask. We use open-ended prompts and language that suggests possibilities and freedom, rather than a specific goal to reach.
On screen, Ryan Karada, TK teacher and STEAM instructional coach, Sonoma County Office of Education. The speaker is seated in the hallway of an early education environment.
Facilitating, it's whatever the educator says or does to support the exploration. So it could be a question, an open-ended question. So my go-tos are, what do you think? Let's try that.
A teacher asks a child a question while the child plays with a flashlight. Another child collects materials from the shelf while the teacher watches.
Maybe offering a material, maybe not offering material, maybe having students let them go free in the classroom to pull in materials that work for them, that works best for their tinkering experience.
On-screen graphic: Follow the learner's path, followed by a child playing by herself with lights and shapes projected on a screen.
As children engage in the exploration in more focused ways, we then follow the learner's path to support their ideas and understand their thinking. Here, our initial attitude shifts a bit to center more on listening, observing, and ask clarifying questions that allows learners to pursue the ideas and theories that they're developing.
Teachers can have a vital role in supporting kids' tinkering aspect by partnering with them in their investigation, by offering a material.
A teacher makes suggestions to a child who is rolling balls down a ramp.
What if we try a heavier one? Let's try and see what happens.
Or asking a question, or maybe not doing anything at all, stepping back and looking for how kids are tinkering with, light or, sound or balance, whatever have you. But I think that tinkering is just a way to develop understanding directly.
On-screen graphic, deepen understanding.
Sometimes, as theories begin forming and children are grappling with phenomena, it is helpful to facilitate in order to deepen understanding of the concepts and ideas being explored.
What are you going to add next, Kaven?
3 children at a table make structures of cardboard and masking tape.
Here, we might offer prompts, specific materials, or careful observations that can encourage children to test theories, collaborate with others to make meaning, and come up with inventive solutions to the problems that are emerging. This process of deepening understanding might develop over the course of days or weeks as children repeatedly engage with the same phenomena in different ways.
In various scenes, children draw, plan, and think about their ramps.
Why isn't it going in the hole? Wait a second, you said? Oh, I wonder what you're going to do next.
No.
Oh, Kaven found a bigger hole. I wonder if that's going to fit. Do you guys think that's going to fit?
Children sometimes need a mental challenge to, bridge the gap.
On screen, Ehuama Ehukumera, Site Manager, Trans Bay Child Development Center. The speaker sits in an early childhood classroom. While talking, the speaker appears in a photo watching a child play with a flashlight.
A poorly worded question sometimes doesn't get you any further, because it's not just about it being open-ended, but the context in which you ask the questions makes a difference. And so having teachers be aware of what questions am I asking? Is this the right question? If it's not the right question, how can I put it to this child so the child actually understands what I'm saying?
On-screen graphic, facilitation strategies, followed by scenes of a child playing with lights, figurines, and shadows.
Over time, you will develop your own set of strategies for facilitating tinkering experiences and learning moments. But here are some common pitfalls that it might be helpful to know about. It's important to remind ourselves that the goal of tinkering is not for a project to work perfectly, but to offer experiences for children to develop their own understanding. It's the difference between making sure it works and making sure they're working on it.
On-screen graphic, facilitation tip, embrace failure and frustration, followed by a scene of a child's stack of balanced blocks falling down.
Some failure and frustration is an unavoidable part of the process, and it can actually be beneficial to encounter those moments in the context of an activity that allows children to shift their own goals and redefine their attitude towards these challenges.
Children play with balancing a round piece of cardboard with small rings and toy fish on top. In one instance, the rings and fish slide off the cardboard.
Remind children that failure is another form of learning and can help them understand things better. Tinkering takes time.
On-screen graphic, facilitation tip, time to tinker.
It's important to offer enough time for children to become actively engaged in their projects, take breaks when things get too challenging, and return to them on their own.
A child outside builds a cardboard structure that falls over. Inside, the camera tilts up on an elaborate and tall sculpture made of tubes, cardboard, cups, and straws.
If you can, return to project over multiple days or weeks, adding new prompts and materials to relaunch and deepen ideas and concepts that emerge while tinkering.
On-screen graphic, facilitation tip, selection of materials.
It is crucial to provide enough materials to give children many ways to build and problem solve during the exploration.
A child plays with vertical tubes for balancing. He balances a large serving spoon on 2 pieces of cork. Another child notices how numerous cars and balls have accumulated at the bottom of a ramp.
And adding new materials as explorations develop can be a good way to address children's interests and theories. But be careful. Too many materials may become distracting and take away focus from more intentional explorations. It is often a good idea to start with a larger selection of materials, carefully observe and document which ones seem to lead to rich investigations, and pare them down over repeated sessions.
My facilitation has definitely shifted since I've begun doing the tinkering. I'm much more intentional.
On screen, Jennifer Hawkins, Anchor preschool teacher, Yerba Buena Gardens Child Development Center. The speaker sits in an early childhood classroom, followed by scenes of the speaker playing with children both inside and outside.
And I engage with the children more often. Not like I wasn't engaging before, but I'm really playing with them. I found that they really welcome, me so I'm more of a participant in what they're doing. It's really changed the way that I facilitate for the better.
Facilitation is a delicate dance between the goals we have for the children and the goals children set for themselves, and should be driven primarily by your curiosity to find out more about your children as learners. With practice, it will become a powerful way to develop deep, trustful relationships with your children.